state understands that we're actually mostly in agreement. There are a couple things. Well, there's one thing that's definitely contested, and another thing it's more of guidance, Your Honor, from the court. So the contested issues, Your Honor, are one, geographic restriction. So state understands that Miss, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, Miss Lara Mindy, she's currently part of the military. However, she is essentially on like terminal leave, like she's no longer really active.
I know, I know what it means.
Mhm. Um, and so she originally lived in Texas, but she moved last month to Missouri. And state understands that Mr. Mendez still lives in Texas. She essentially, Your Honor, um, state understands that Mr. Mendez is asking for a jurisdiction back to Texas. Um, I have just understood now that Miss Laramendi might, so she she understands that she needs to be there at least for a year for her job, but that after that she may decide to move back to Texas. So maybe it's a little bit less contested than it was originally. Um, but Your Honor, she's still opposed to geographic restriction in general. Um, uh, and so besides that, Your Honor, because the parties live in different states, uh, basically, one of your special visitation packages might be necessary. Um, I know that Miss Laramendi had some ideas about, because she state understands that she is part of the Texas National Guard, and so every month she goes to Texas to, I believe it's train with them. Um, and so, she was thinking maybe, there could be some kind of like supervised visitation, during that time when she comes back. But Your Honor, I informed her that, considering that they live in different states, that one of your special packages that you create might be necessary. Um, and as part of this visitation issue, Your Honor, uh, I'm not sure. Well, I guess we'll need to hear what the actual it's gonna actually happen. There was issue about maybe Mr. Mendez receiving some kind of reimbursement for travel, but I think, Your Honor, we'll know more about that when you decide how we should do that
Right. Mr.
visitation.
Welch and Mr. Lopez, this doesn't come up often, but one of the courts one reasons to actually even change a geographic restriction is because of the job. And mom, if that's what we're looking at, then I'll let her present her evidence and we'll take a look at it. But she's already moved. She's contracted to this new job for at least up to a year. So let me hear what's going on, because again, if it's about going to work, going to school, I used to say that in my my statements in the morning, but there are legitimate reasons for me to waive that, and work and schooling is one of those reasons. So let me find out what's going on, and we'll see. So
Sure. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Lopez.
may I give a brief opening?
Yes, sir. You can.
Yeah, Your Honor. And just to touch on a few things that Mr. Welch said, um, most of this is agreed, both parties to be joint managing conservators, with mom having the exclusive right to designate the primary residence of the child, the right to collect child support, and the right to enroll in school. Now, the reason we were asking for a geographic restriction is she moved a month ago without any warning to my client. My client hasn't been able to see his child for about the better part of this year. And she just kind of moved, which I understand if it's for work, if it's for school, but she just kind of left without warning in the middle of a lawsuit, since this was yet not finalized. And for those reasons, we were asking for a geographic restriction. Now, if the court wishes to, not order a geographic restriction, we understand. But again, based off of the fact that she just kind of left without any warning to dad, to another state, and it's not a part of the military. It's just her job with the VA. Like she didn't get deployed. These aren't orders. Where we'd ask for just a reduction in child support, since he's going to have to travel a lot further to Missouri than driving from San Antonio up to Bell County, if this court does not wish to implement a geographic restriction. And the only thing we would ask is if there are going to be travel costs, if the court does not want to give him a reduction, we would like for, any sort of long distance visitation payments to be split 50-50. So like if there's airline travel or anything like that, for that to be split, dad buying one way and mom buying the other way, or something to kind of make that a little bit more fair. But that's, I think, the only issues really in front of you today, Your Honor.
All right, then let's get some testimony from the party. So he's in SA?
Your Honor, I believe both parties were at least previously military.
So
Correct.
he's in San Antonio?
Yes, Your Honor.
I thought I thought you were being some. Got it, Your Honor.
Okay. You're not from Texas, Mr. Welch?
No, when you said SA, I didn't realize San Antonio. Got it.
Yeah. Brooks Army Medical, San Antonio, Texas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's get some testimonies from the parties. Let's see what this job information is. Let's get some. I also need some information on how much you said he hadn't seen the child much this year, but how much has he seen the child before this year, and that will factor in also on how I try to set something up. And okay, and yeah, and whether or not and how I set up the visitation package, and I can get creative here if I need to. So anyway, are both parties present in the courtroom at this time?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Oh, and Your Honor, I should inform the court. So state understands that there's family violence with both parties, Your Honor. At least family violence allegations. The parties agreed to that joint management conservatorship with Miss Lara Mindy as primary, and they agreed to the non-disclosure for each party. But I thought you should be aware of that, Your Honor, and also app close. They agreed to that as well.
Okay. All right, then let's hear what they got to say. All right. Both parties need to turn on your videos and raise your right hands. I need to take a look at you guys. Thank you. Today's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Say calls Savannah Lara Mindy. What is your full name?
Savannah Lara Mindy.
What is the full name of the child in this case?
Rainer Isaiah Lara Mindy.
How old is Rainer?
He is 2. He will be 3 in January.
When was he born? Oh, I guess January, but when?
January 13th, 2022.
Now, has Mr. Mendez ever verbally threatened you or physically assaulted you within the last couple years?
In the last couple years, we've had, or at least I have had, issues with him making repeated advances and me saying, no, please stop touching me. And he continues. There have been several times where he has come to the house, admittedly, to help me while I was moving with us, while I was pregnant with my second child, since his dad was away for training, or to help me with issues with my car. But the second that I would say, okay, let me get Rainer so you can talk to him and like say hello and hang out with him, he would come up with an excuse to leave. And during that time, before I would go get Rainer, he would be making sexual advances and passes, no matter how much I asked him to not.
Was the police ever involved in any of these incidents?
No, I wanted to keep everything as...
Ma'am, here's the deal. Just need to listen to the question, answer the question, and stop. If the state wants you to go into details about why you did or what you did, they will. But at this point, the answer is just plain no, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor. So looking, so has there been any kind of any kind of physical physical assault or verbal threats before the 2 years?
Prior to me getting pregnant, no. Once I found out I was pregnant, yes. There was one physical violence threat made to our son from him when he was 3 weeks and 1 day old.
So physical violence. So was the police ever involved in that incident?
No.
despite that, do you agree to joint man conservatorship with you having the right to establish where the child lives?
Yes.
Do you agree to non-disclosure for yourself and Mr. Mendez?
Yes.
Do you agree to the parties being ordered to use the app close app?
Yes.
Are you asking for retroactive child support today?
I'm asking for 1 year.
And do you understand? So are you asking from November 2023 to today?
Yes.
Do you understand that that you can ask for a longer period than just from today to November 2023?
Yes, I only wanted November 2022 or November 2023 to today because he has paid prior to that, and I didn't want him to not get credit for that.
And are you okay with a total of $10,309.28 for retroactive child support?
Yes.
Do you agree to a repayment of $102 per month starting December 1st, 2024?
Yes.
Do you agree to current child support of $1,174 monthly starting December 1st, 2024?
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that amount again, please? Thank you.
$1,174.
All right, got it. Thank you.
What kind of health insurance does Rainer have?
He has TRICARE Prime. And then next month he will switch to TRICARE for Life under me from being a disabled veteran.
And he has dental through that TRICARE as well?
He has dental and vision.
So, for the health, how much does that cost you for Rainer per month?
For his health insurance, it's $44, which includes his vision, and his dental is $500 annually.
Are you asking for Mr. Mendez to reimburse you for the health?
No.
Do you understand that you can ask for reimbursement for health if the court orders that you provide the health insurance?
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you to not ask for reimbursement?
No.
You understand you can ask for reimbursement for the dental as well if the court orders dental through your TRICARE.
Yes.
Are you asking for reimbursement then for that?
No.
Are you all right with keeping Rainer on your TRICARE health and dental?
Yes.
What state do you currently live in?
Missouri.
When did you move to Missouri?
I moved to Missouri October 11th.
And where did you move from?
I moved from Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood.
Why did you move on October 11th to Missouri?
As I was transitioning out of the Army, I did the war tax CSP, and the contention of doing the CSP was I would have guaranteed VA federal employment, but I would not get to pick my job location for the first 52 weeks of employment. And they chose for me to go to Missouri, so that's where I moved. After the 52 weeks, I can choose to move elsewhere or go fully remote.
Can you, Your Honor, do you need an explanation for what war tax CSP is?
No. No, I don't need it. Thank you.
So, would you be opposed to a geographic restriction of Texas?
Yes, for several reasons.
What are those reasons then?
The fact that I obtained federal employment, and I am on a probationary period because it's my first 52 weeks. If I were to move back to Texas, I would lose my employment, and I do not have backup employment lined up. Also, my second child that I have, which is outside of this case, his father and I are together, and he is currently stationed in Missouri, and we live together. And he is the person who has helped me raise the child in question for this case for the past 2 years.
When's the last time Mr. Mendez has visited either in person or maybe through some kind of electronic communication, the Rainer?
November 6th of 2023 was the last time he saw him in person, although I invited him to spend time with him Thanksgiving, Christmas, his birthday, Easter, Memorial Day, and I haven't received a text back from him since November 17th, so I stopped asking him if he wanted to see him, but I still do send him pictures and videos and periodic updates of him and what's going on in his life. And I heard earlier that the judge mentioned, or his attorney mentioned, that I did not tell him I was moving, but on April 16th, around 3 p.m., I sent him a text letting him know that I was moving to Missouri, and it was specifically for employment purposes.
And so that November 6th visit, how did it go?
It was so his girlfriend, now wife, could meet our son, and for him to spend time with our son since he hadn't seen him in a while. It was an interesting interaction in the sense of throughout Rainer's entire life, I have constantly been like, do you want to spend time with him? Do you want to see him? Just give me like a 24-hour notice and you can come. I just got to let my NCOs know whenever you want to come see him so I can get that time off. And it would always be canceled. So Rainer doesn't really have an idea of who he is. And so on November 6th, we met up at like a playground burger place. And I could tell my son was getting irritated because he was at that age where
Stop. Don't testify to what you feel someone else felt. Okay, you can't do that, man. Unless you give me some criteria that you're an expert witness in the area of child psychology and all that other thing. I know it's just a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, man. But you can only testify to what you actually observed and saw as an interaction, and and that's pretty much it. Okay, thank you. Don't speculate how the child felt, or how the dad felt, or how even his new wife felt, or even your current significant other felt. You can only testify to you and what you observed. Thank you.
But the entire time that Darian was giving him attention, my son was just running away from him because he was trying to play, and because he's developmentally ahead, so he plays at a higher age level and age group than you would expect. So he was trying to be independent and do it on his own, and Darian wasn't letting him, and they both kind of just were done for the day and came and sat down, we ate, and everybody went their own ways.
And before this November 6th visit, how many times had Mr. Mendez visited the child?
The last time prior to that was Memorial Day of 2023. But I do want to say during that time, I was heavily pregnant with my second child, and I had told him, hey, look, I'm getting ready to have another C-section. I already know I'm not going to want people at the house for the first couple of weeks. After that, like, I'll like, you know, when I feel good, ready to go, just give me a 24-hour heads up and you're more than welcome to come and spend time with him. And I told him the same thing prior. Him and I actually had a phone call about a week prior to me having my second child, where I was like, you keep saying that you're coming and then you canceled the day of. What's going on?
Are you a member of the Texas National Guard?
Yes.
As part of your membership, are you required to go back to Texas?
Once a month for 2 days. 2 days to 2 weeks, depending on what type of MUTA drill it is.
And how would you feel about Mr. Mendez receiving some kind of reduction in his child support based off of travel expenses?
I would say at the moment, I do not agree with it for the simple fact of the amount of times that we have set up visits and the day of, an hour prior or 2 hours after the fact of when he was supposed to show up, he cancels. I'm not comfortable reimbursing him because I feel like that would be a reward. I feel like once we have a year of like consistent utilizing his visitation and being involved in doing the things that he's ordered to do, I would have no issue with it. But until it's consistent behavior, I'm not okay with it.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, real quick, if you had to give it a number over the last, in 2023 and 2024, on how many separate occasions are you alleging that you made, that the father made appointments or agreements to come visit the child, and he actually canceled at the on the same date of the visitation, ma'am? How many?
And from November 2023 to November of 2024, I'm going to say I reached out 5, 6 times, and I haven't gotten a single text or response from him since November 17th when I let him know I was filing for child support.
And that was of last year, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and before that date, ma'am, say in the entire year of 2023, how many times that was he set up to see the child, and how many times did he see the child?
He saw him. I'm going to say 4 times in 2023. Well, 5 if you count November of 2023. He saw him in January for his birthday, again in March, and twice in May.
Okay. All right, and ma'am, you testified that he had others that he didn't show up for. Were those all prior to 2023?
That would be 2022, 2023, and yeah, 2022 and 2023. It happened at least once a month or once every other month.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lopez, your witness.
Thank you. Ms. Lara Mindy, have you brought up to Mr. Mendez that you wanted him to voluntarily terminate his parental rights?
Yes, based off of several conversations we've had.
And is that something you have advocated for and told him that this is what you would want?
Not necessarily.
You mentioned that the last time he saw you was in that November 6, 2023 get together. Is that right?
Yes, it was at a burger place.
And you said that's one of the reasons was you wanted to meet his then girlfriend, now wife.
Yes, I had told her, as I told him, that I have no issue with him having a significant other as I've moved on, and there's never going to be too much love for a kid. All I ask is that I meet her so that I know who's around my kid and that she treats my son the way that she would treat her own, because I would not treat her child any type of way if they were with me, and I would expect the same.
And after that meeting between all of you, did you did you call Mr. Lara Mindy or communicate with him that you wanted to kill him?
No, I did not.
And at that time, he was a peace officer in Texas. Is that correct?
No, he informed me at the end of October that he was terminated. And when I asked him why, he got aggressive and told me to mind my business.
So you're denying that you threatened to kill him?
I don't think I would do that.
You've never made verbal threats towards him?
No.
So you've all these accusations of Mr. Lara Mindy, of Mr. Mendez Valdez, excuse me, being verbal, you were never verbal back to him.
We have gotten in verbal altercations where we argued, we raised voices at each other, and we were disrespectful to each other. But I have made it my personal goal to remain as cordial as possible with him because I
And,
know
Miss
eventually my son will hear all of this.
and Ms. Lara Mindy, is it possible that some of those, you know, him raising his voice at some point you thought were threatening, but were just Mr. Mendez, kind of like you said, raising his voice in an altercation?
I can tell the difference between him getting aggressive and it just being that we're both heated in the moment. My issue with him is not him yelling at me or taking his frustrations out on me. It was the unwanted sexual advances that I had repeatedly told him to stop, and he continued anyways.
And you'd be fine with Mr. Mendez if he wanted to start seeing his child often, you would be okay with that?
I'm in court. Sorry, I'm still at work. I would have no issue. My son's entire life, I have told him that it is my number one priority for them to have a relationship. I've always wanted them to have a relationship. I came from a single parent household. I know what it felt like, and I didn't want my son to have that.
Okay.
Which is why I pushed and I advocated so much for him to visit. So if he wants
So
to
you
visit, I
wouldn't-
have no issue with it.
Okay.
But I don't want to deal with oh, I'm coming, and then he never shows up. Like I have.
Right.
for
And
the
do you
past
think
couple of
do you
years.
think now living in another state, it would be harder for him to see his child consistently?
I would argue no, because when I was 2.5 hours away, he couldn't even see his child consistently.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained, ma'am. Again, listen to the question and answer only the question that's asked. Okay? Thank you.
Do you believe it's more difficult for a person to visit a child that's a state away?
You get the question, ma'am?
Yes.
Was the answer to the question yes, or did you hear the question? It was the answer yes.
Answering the question, yes.
All right, thank you. You may proceed,
you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so you're in a career skills program and you said you have a contract, you were unable to control where you were going for the first 52 weeks. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
And after the 52 weeks, are you able to control where you go?
As long as there's a job opening, yes. Although I would not want to return to Texas immediately since my significant other is in the military and and we are raising his child together.
But are you married to him?
No, we plan to get married within the next couple of years.
But nothing set in stone yet?
No.
So after the 52 weeks, if there's a job available in Texas, you would be able to come back. Not necessarily saying you would want to, but you'd be able to.
Yes, although the openings in Texas are slim because there's only 2 locations that I can work at, and they're the most requested in the country.
Okay, ma'am, what are the 2 locations?
Waco, Texas, and Houston, Texas.
All right, thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, then, Mr. Welch, anything on redirect?
Pass the witness, Your Honor. I'm good.
All right, then. All right, next witness, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Darian Mendez Valdez.
Yes, sir.
What is your full name?
Darian Jose Mendez Valdez.
And Your Honor, I think I'll focus on what the state's interested for my questions.
No problem.
So do you agree to current child support of $1,174 monthly starting December 1st, 2024?
Yes.
Do you agree to a total of $10,309.28 for retroactive child support?
Yes.
Do you agree to a repayment for that of $102 monthly starting December 1st, 2024?
Yes.
Do you agree to non-disclosure for both yourself and Miss Lara Mindy?
Yes, sir.
How many children besides Rainer do you have?
I only have Rainer.
From November of 2023 to today, have you made any cash gifts or very expensive non-cash gifts to Miss Lara Mindy for the benefit of Rainer?
No.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Lopez, your witness.
Yes. Mr. Mendez, were you able to hear the questions that Mr. Welch was asking of Ms. Laramendi?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you a little bit off based off of some of those questions. So I want to start off with that November 6th meeting. What was the purpose of that meeting to your understanding?
From my understanding, it was for Savannah to meet my wife, and so we could be able to, in her words, have them or take them with us every now and then, not too far. I believe the agreement was like 30-minute radius, and spend time with them. That was my understanding for the meeting.
And where did the meeting occur?
It was at the a burger place. I forget the name of it, but yes, it was at a burger place with the playground.
Gotcha. Was it in Killeen?
No, it was in Temple.
And can you tell the court a little bit as to how were there any negative events that happened stemming from that meeting?
No, I just feel like that meeting was not what it was supposed to be. Things did not go the way that we had planned and had spoken about. Because she then, after that meeting, said that we would be able to go see Rainer, spend time with Rainer, but she would have to come along with them, which I can understand her point of view on that. But the whole purpose of it was for us to get to know him and spend time with him. And given our history, I truthfully don't want to be around her.
And so you mentioned history. You heard me ask Ms. Latamendi if she had ever threatened you before. Did you hear that question?
Yes, sir.
Has she ever threatened you before?
Yes, sir. There's I have a voice recording.
And could you tell the court what that voice recording, when did this happen and what did she say to you?
I would have to go back and see the exact date of when it happened. But it was when I was still a peace officer, and she made the statement of "I will kill you" and a smile in the mugshot.
And what stemmed this outburst?
So she would do random calls to me and would go off saying that Dirt does more than I. And would just go into these tangents of just degrading me. And yes, there was times where I canceled on her, and so that would stem probably the anger towards her, but it wasn't on purpose. At the time, I was working as a peace officer, so when we were short-staffed or a fatality happened, something happened where they needed someone, they would choose a rookie to go in, and I was a rookie at the time.
And where were you a peace officer with?
At the Guadalupe County Sheriff's Department.
At the where?
Guadalupe County Sheriff's Department.
So at that time, you weren't living right, like near them at that point.
No, I was still living in close to Universal City, San Antonio area.
And so it sounds like you said that you guys kind of have a history. Do you guys have a history of kind of getting into these verbal altercations with each other?
No, I actually I would never. She said I would raise my voice at her and display anger towards her. I've never raised my voice at her. I have yet to raise my voice at her. She would be the one that would get in my face, yell at me. There was one time where I didn't necessarily raise my voice, but I did get a little louder, and she kicked me out of her house. So I left that day.
And so, would you describe your relationship as if Ms. Latamendi isn't getting what she wants, she kind of pulls rank, so to speak, and kicks you out?
No, I wouldn't go as far as that. It's just I feel like over the time our relationship has become
And so you told the judge that from November, or it's been said that from November 2023 until now, you haven't seen your child. Could you tell the judge why that is?
So I cut all communications with Savannah the last time that she made the comment of she wanted that she was going to kill me. So this has been a multiple situation type deal where she's done this to me, and at one point she even said I have people that do it. And this was when I was still at Fort Hood or Fort Cavazos at the time. But this last time when she did it, my wife was with me, so she heard that as well, and that's when I cut ties. That's when I stopped talking to her. That's when everything was filed, and we decided to go the route that we're going now.
And so you were making sending her, payments for Rainer before November of 2023, but after that, you guys kind of talked about you were going to do this through the state. Is that right?
Yes, it was brought up to that we were going to give any money, it would be through the court order.
And do you think if you had a court order, saying you're able to see your child for certain periods, that you would actually see your child as much as you can?
Yes, sir.
Would it be a lot easier of you to visit your child if he was closer?
Yes, sir.
And before the hearing, we believe Ms. Lara Mindy was still living in Texas, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we were initially going to propose for you guys to meet either, in the middle, somewhere at a fire station or police station, to kind of make sure that nothing untoward happens between both of you.
Yes, sir.
Now that she's moved away, is it going to be an extra cost for you to be able to see your child consistently?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And you're obviously in agreement and are willing to pay child support as well as retroactive child support.
Yes, sir.
But if the court does not wish to enact a geographic restriction on Ms. Lara Mindy due to her what seems to be pretty good career opportunity, are you asking the court to give you a reduction for the amount of traveling you would have to do?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think is important for the judge to know regarding your situation with your child?
No, I believe everything's been covered.
I guess let me ask you this, but before we finish up, do you want to get to know your child?
Yes, sir.
You acknowledge you haven't seen him a lot this year, or haven't seen him
Yes,
this
sir.
year. And you want to show that you do want to see him and you do want to exercise your possession.
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, then, Mr. Welch, anything on redirect, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. Mainly on the health and dental and a few other questions. So, Mr. Mendez, do you agree to continue Miss Lara Mindy having the child on TRICARE Health?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to her having the child continue on TRICARE Dental?
Yes, sir.
What kind of health insurance do you have access to for the child if the court decided to order you to do that?
I have a TRICARE as well due to disability, and I have a basic coverage plan through my job right now.
Do you agree to
And sir, what do you currently do for a living, please?
I am a technician for Ford.
Okay, Ford dealership, Ford Incorporated, what are we looking at?
Ford dealership, sir.
All right, and where's that dealership and where's that located, please?
It is located in New Braunfels, right off of 35.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. What county do you live in, Mr. Mendez?
Guadalupe County.
Do you agree to communicating through app close app?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to you two being joint managing servers with Miss Lara Mindy as having the right to establish where the child lives?
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anything else on this witness, Mr. Lopez?
No, sir, that is all.
All right, then, Mr. Welch, any more questions of either party at this time?
Your Honor, I guess for Miss Lara Mindy, Ms. Lara Mindy, do you have anything else you'd like to tell the court regarding what we're here for today?
I really just only ever wanted him and my son to have a relationship, regardless of how him and I feel towards each other. And I know travel got brought up. I have no problem purchasing round ticket airplane flights for him to come and visit. Like I said earlier, I grew up in a single parent household. I remember how I felt as a kid like that, and I don't want that for my son. So if he wants to come and see him, I have no problem with it.
All right, so ma'am, here's the deal, ma'am. This child's too young to fly by himself at this point. So would you agree to pay for half a round trip ticket for the father to come up and see the child in Missouri?
I'm willing to pay for a round trip for him to come and see his son.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now here comes the big one. How many times, ma'am?
Flights from Texas to Missouri are actually relatively cheap
Yeah,
round trip. So if he wants to come,
it's not LA, New York, the big
Yeah.
time. So they figure if you want to fly to Missouri, hey, no problem. So
yeah. So if he wanted to come every other weekend, I am perfectly fine with that.
okay. All right then. Well, I'll figure out something here. All right, thank you. Anything else on okay, you were the original one, so anything else on a direct examination of Ms. Lara Mindy?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lopez, anything else, questions from Ms. Lara Mindy?
No, Judge, I had a quick question for Mr. Mendez that I just forgot to ask.
All right then. I'll go ahead and let does the state have any more questions of Mr. Melendez?
I guess one thing, Your Honor, it's Mr. Mendez, so during that time that when you talked about when you state that she had threatened you, what job were you?
So one of the times I was still going through the police academy. The other time I was a licensed peace officer, and the last time was already when I was no longer I was a licensed peace officer, still am, but I wasn't a full-time. I wasn't hired.
Mr.
So did you ever when she made these threats, did you ever like file a police report?
Mr. Wells, let's move on. Let's move on, please, sir. Thank you. We've been doing this almost an hour now, and yeah, and it's time for the court to do the court's thing. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, just very briefly, Mr. Mendez, I didn't get to ask you, for your possession and access, you are asking to be awarded a standard possession order, a Texas standard possession order.
That's the first, third, and fifth.
Yes, that's the one we talked about, first, third, and fifth, alternating holidays. I told you there was provisions for under 50, between 50 and 100, and over 100. Are you asking the court to award you a standard possession order schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I figured it'd be the simplest way.
That's it, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, I'm gonna listen to closing statements at this time. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the lawyers, and I'll end with the pro se litigants. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, Mr. Lopez, then go to Mr. Welch, and then Ms. Lara Mindy. If you have anything else you want to say as your closing argument, ma'am, you'll be allowed to do so, in the fact that you are your own legal representative. So at this time, I'll start with you, Mr. Lopez. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. I think you've heard that. I think the parties in the past have not gotten along very well. I think there may have been, verbal altercations at times. But it sounds like both of them love their son and they want to kind of focus on, building that relationship between Mr. Mendez and the child. Thankfully, we're in agreement with a large part of the conservatorship provisions that we would need to talk about today. The only one that I raised in my opening is the geographic restriction. Obviously, after hearing her testimony, I think everyone can understand that she has a great job opportunity that seems to come with great career benefits. I don't believe my client would be wanting to strip her from that, since it would benefit the child. But if he is having to travel, to do some sort of, we were asking for a deduction, but it sounds like maybe the parties can reach some sort of agreement and the judge, your honor, can order something where, maybe they pay for half and half, of a round trip ticket, whether that be Mr. Mendez buying it and then Miss Lara Mindy reimbursing him, if he shows a receipt, something of that sort, in order to enable him to be able to exercise his possession and access. And he is asking for a standard possession order, even though the child is, a state away. He would like to be able to see him as much as possible. I think with the app close communication app, as well as a solid custody order telling the parties this is where you got to be, this is where you got to exchange, I think that's going to help go a long way to help kind of help them co-parent. But that's all, Your Honor. Just again, we're asking for, the parties to split travel and for the court to render the agreed upon provisions as the court's ruling. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Welch.
Yes, Your Honor. So the state understands that the parties do agree joint conservatorship with Ms. Lara Mindy as primary. That the parties agreed to non-disclosure for each of them. They agree for the retroactive child support of $10,309.28. And the timeline for that being November 2023 to today. Repayment for that, Your Honor, would be $102 per month starting December 1st, 2024. I understand that there is some issue of possible reduction of child support, but at least on the originally, Your Honor, the parties agreed to a current child support amount of $1,174 monthly starting December 1st, 2024. Parties agreed to Ms. Lara Mindy carrying the health and dental through her TRICARE, and parties agree that she would not be seeking any reimbursement for that. Parties agreed to app close, and Your Honor, you heard Mr. Lopez's position for the cost of the airline tickets. And Your Honor, I believe the parties are contested about the geo restriction. And Your Honor, the state asked the court to portion court costs as it will.
That's waived. It's waived. They're both former military. It's waived.
And Your Honor, in regards to possible reduction of child support due to travel.
We're going to do a temporary order, Mr. Welch. And we can take that up at final.
All right, Your Honor. That's it, Your Honor.
All right, he want to say Valdez. I'm sorry, Mr. Melendez. What's your work schedule like, sir? You work weekends? You work you're off weekdays? What are we talking about?
I am Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then it all depends on workload at the dealership. Sometimes they'll have us come in on Saturdays, but they let us know ahead of time.
All right, then. And which airport is the easiest for you to fly out of? Bergstrom or I think it's San Antonio International. Don't get me to lying. I've never flown out there. So is it Bergstrom out of Austin or San Antonio International or wherever San Antonio's airport?
I think San Antonio would be the easiest.
Okay.
Your Honor.
good. All right, thank you. All right, gentlemen, and ma'am, anything you'd like to say in closing argument, and the fact that you now know this is going to be a temporary order, because I'm going to establish some stuff to see what happens and see how it works out, and then come back to see if you folks are getting along well enough so I can make a final order with as few possible weird tweaks as possible. All right, so ma'am, closing. Thank you. If any, thank you. You muted, ma'am.
I apologize. I agree with everything that's already been said. The only thing that I asked kind of like as a precautionary that was briefly mentioned prior is that for his visitation, there is an option to have someone there to supervise just in case him and I are not getting along at that point in time, so that he can still enjoy his visitation and him and I are not at each other's necks.
Okay, here's the deal, ma'am. I always say that you have the right to have your designated agent be there, but since you're not married, it cannot be your current significant other. Okay, boyfriends don't count under Texas law. Girlfriends don't count under Texas law. And believe me, if there's going to be a fight, it's the boyfriend and the girlfriend that get into it more often than the parties. All right. So
Yes, sir. My sister's moving to Missouri, so she would be there.
How soon before she gets there, ma'am?
She will be here in January. So December is the only month it would be the two of us.
I'm looking at some visitation during the Christmas holidays because that's when everybody gets more time off and it'll be easier. So if I do something next month and then January and February and then come back here in March to see how this all worked out, that's what I'm looking at 3 months of worth of visitation. And I'm looking at having you pay the round trip tickets for those first 3 times. Then after that, I'm probably going to do a 50-50. But because you moved and it was with your job and you say you'll pay, I want to go ahead and do that for the 3 times and have Dad fly up to see his son. But I need to go ahead and check out what I'm looking at as far as airline schedules and I'm sorry, where do you live in Missouri?
I live near Fort Leonard Wood.
Fort what?
Leonard Wood.
Leonard Wood, okay. And what's the closest city?
There's an airport in Leonard Wood, actually.
Okay, that's probably not going to work. Okay, how far is Kansas City away? What are we talking about?
Springfield is about an hour, which would be the second nearest airport.
Okay.
The third closest would be in St. Louis.
Okay, St. Louis. Okay, got it. All right, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this one under a quick advisement. I'm going to go ahead and look at the schedules and you said there's do you know who flies into the airport closest to Fort Leonard Wood and what city that is?
Springfield. I want to say it's American, United, Delta.
Okay.
And
all right, you said there's one closer to Fort. What's the name of the airport near Fort Leonard Wood?
The one that's on Fort Leonard Wood, it's Fort Leonard Wood Airport.
Okay, it's a military operation.
Yes,
right?
but it is open to public use.
Okay, well, it doesn't have regular flights coming in for United, American, things like that, right?
It does.
It does? Okay, well, I'll see what's available. Anyway, what I'm going to go ahead and look at doing is naming you both temporary joint manager servers. I'm not going to do a geo restriction at this point because it wouldn't make any sense. I'm going to go ahead and order to agree to child support amount going forward and agree to retroactive and repayment. All that starts the first day of December. I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I'm going to do as far as this visitation schedule. But Mr. Melendez, I'm looking at giving you time the next 3 months in a row. I'm not sure how, Missouri's not Texas. The weather, can get bad. Well, Texas get bad. Weather get bad here in Texas in December, January and February. But I'm looking at going ahead and seeing about having you fly up to visit your child. And I'm also going to go ahead and order that you both use app close and that you have electronic visits every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Time on that app close. I'll set it for 30 minutes, but if you're going to keep a 3-year-old entertained on a FaceTime call or y'all need to make it a video chat where that way you can see each other. But if you can keep him entertained for 30 minutes, then you're a better man than I am. and are you dressed as a clown and you're doing flips around the room, okay? Because again, the attention span's not the greatest in the world, but I want you to get that every Sunday, and with an option of getting it. Well, let's just go with Sundays now. That way, everybody can work their schedule and make sure they're available. Because I know car dealerships are closed on Sundays. The military only works on Sundays when somebody is in a lot of trouble and they're going after them. So hopefully that won't be a problem. And I want to go ahead and take a look at these airports and see. And I need to be very specific of how I want to set this up and the time frames, which I'm going to order the mom to have the tickets available from you giving her so many days notice. And I'm probably looking at least 10 days notice that you want to come up on that day, and that she has the 10 days or the 2 weeks to secure that, because I'm trying to make sure that that it doesn't cost more because we're doing this so last minute. Okay, so anyway, sir, if I was to go ahead and order monthly and do it on a third week, just like it was visitation on the third weekend of the month, or the fourth weekend of the month, or the second weekend of the month, which one of those would probably work with you best, sir, or if any?
We can do the third weekend of the month, fine.
All right, then I'll look at the third weekend and see about getting that set up. But I'll look. Let me look at the airports, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do and get that to a letter out to Mr. Welch and Mr. Lopez and Miss Lara Mindy, how I want to set that up and how I want to set up the time frames with the child's visit. Okay. I'm kind of going to do that first break-in long distance visitation schedule with dad going to Missouri to do the visitation instead of the other way around. So okay. All right, folks. So let me go ahead and figure that one out, and I'll
Your Honor,
try to get that out and done in the next 24 hours, so by 5 o'clock tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Who's saying something?
I believe it's Miss Lara Mindy.
Yes, I have to turn off my video because I'm on VA Wi-Fi and it's not the best.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, come on, please work.
That's okay. Really, as long as I can hear you, I don't need video.
Due to me being in the Texas National Guard. Okay. Due to me being in the Texas National Guard, there might be some of that third weekend in the month that I'm actually going to be in Texas for drill. So instead of flying, would it be okay if we just met in Dallas for that visitation?
Excuse me, ma'am. You don't have the schedule already for that?
No, I get it next month.
And how many months in advance will that schedule cover?
It's supposed to cover the fiscal year.
All right then. All right then. Well, after you get that, ma'am, you'll double check it. Right now, I'm looking at the third, but sir, but that's an alternative. We'll move it to the fourth if she has to come to Texas for drill. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes,
then.
Your Honor.
All right then. Anything else, Ms. Lara Mindy?
No, sir.
All right, guys. Like I said, let me do the magic Google search, or I'm sorry, the kayak search. I don't go to Google. I want to see what the tickets are looking like and where they need to fly, where you need to fly to. But I will check Google Maps. And tomorrow's the San Saba docket. Remind me tomorrow, Mr. Welch, if on this to make sure I get this done. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, everybody. Everything else is agreed to, and then we're going to figure out this visitation schedule for the next 3 months and get Dad and his son more acclimated to each other, and we'll figure out what we're going to do as a final after that. So I'll go ahead and at this time, I'll go ahead and give y'all the date in advance. Well, I'm looking at coming back. I probably don't have a lot in March already, but I did do a couple of dockets where I did a Zoom with a code for every certain day until July. So let's see what I've got. In March already. And I stay away from that spring break one because I know I don't have that one. All right, there we go.
We have, I believe in March, Your Honor, one Zoom docket, regular Zoom docket on the 4th, March 4th, 2025.
All right, right now I'm showing I also got one on the 13th, but that's probably that built-in one. But the March 4th one will probably be more accurate because I'm not sure. Those Wednesdays and Thursdays can change due to live dockets. but you're right. For right now, I've got a Zoom docket on March the 4th, and that's the day I'll look at as far as the reset on this one for now. And if we need to change that around based on someone's schedule, we'll get that set up. But for right now, I'll ask that when you do the order of this, sir, go ahead and make a reset date for March the 4th at 9 a.m. for final on this one, please. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody go. And like I said, I'll go to kayak and a couple other spots to see what I can find, and then I'll get back with the particulars of how far in advance Dad needs to let Mom know what airport and how she has to provide him the tickets. Obviously, we're going to do electronic, but we'll get this set up, and I can see what the normal. Are we looking at a flight? And Sarah, I'm probably looking at a night flight out on a Friday if there's such a thing, or an early flight on Saturday, so you can spend as much time that weekend as possible. Okay.
That works, Your Honor.
All right.
One question in regards to that.
Yes, sir.
Will it be okay if my wife goes with me as well, or?
Not for these first, sir. I won't. I just need to be you and your son, and then after that, obviously, when you have your we set up a schedule that's yours and yours alone, then the wife can be there. But for right now, I will. I want this to be either she be there, or her designated agent be there, and just you, because again, he's 3. Let's not throw too much at him. And but when we come back in March, then obviously, sir, you are actually married to your significant other, so she can be included in all that. Included again the right to pick up and drop the child off, because again, as long as you're married, you're good. If you're because spouses have a tendency not to go ballistic as often as significant others. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, everybody. Everybody's free to go at this time, and allow and Mr. Welch, you can start working on that order and remind me tomorrow, and I'll take a look at what we're going to be looking at going forward as far as that travel setup is concerned. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much, folks, and we're off the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.